is Reason Revolution. I'm your host, Justin Clark. Thank you for joining us this week. I have a very special interview for you this week. She is an activist, ex-Muslim from Bangladesh. She is an extremely fascinating person. I'm really looking forward to talking to her. Zerin Firoze, how you doing?
Great.
Awesome. Fantastic. You're very, very welcome. I'm glad to have you. What we'll start talking a little bit about first is kind of your background, where you're from, your story, your deconversion. How did you become an atheist? Why? And kind of what your journey is like.
I was born and raised in South Asia, Bangladesh, and I came in the US last year, and I always had doubt and questions about my faith. I could never believe in Islam or in any other faith, even as a child. And my family is fairly secular, and I used to go into an English school, and my country is supposed to be secular, but it's anything but secular. And even in an English school, you had to say the Islamic prayer, Surah Fatiha, and then you sing the national anthem Amar Shonar Bangla. So my school, it was an English school. Yeah, but still, you have to study, Islam as well.
Okay. And I know that you had mentioned briefly before we started chatting that you grew up fairly secular in terms that your parents weren't that religious, or could you kind of unpack that a little?
Yeah, fairly secular. Why? Because my dad, he has never been to a mosque. He doesn't fast. Me and my mom, we have never wore, hijab, burqa. Yeah, so in some ways, my parents were secular, and you have to give, credit to that, because it's very hard to be secular in Bangladesh, especially, yeah. But the only problem with my dad was that he was, abusive, and he was short-tempered. He could not control his temper. So he was, abusive to me and my mom. Yeah, and he was always, against my education. Even as a child, my dad, he used to taunt me day and night that he would pull me out of school. And you should never speak like that. You should never say that to a child. Or I'm not good enough, I should not study. So yes, I had to struggle a lot for my education, and it was not because of Islam. It was because of the fact that my dad, he just refused to pay for my college. He just did not want to spend money on my education. It's not because that he's Islamic, because he's not. So my childhood, it was fairly secular. Yeah, but I did get my dose of, Islamic studies classes. I had to attend the Islamic classes at high school. And my school was from 7 to 2 p.m. And then I used to come home for lunch and a shower. And then my mom used to send me for my moral classes, my Islamic moral classes from 4 to 6. Hujur and Imam used to come at my house, and he used to make me study, Islam. Yeah, so at school, the school was supposed to be a secular school, but it was not secular, because we were forced to say prayers in the, assembly. And yes, my non-Muslim friends, they were also forced to fast. That was just so silly. That was really silly. Yeah, so my mom, she used to send me for Islamic classes. And then I was around 7 years old at that time. And I was studying the Battle of Badr, Badr, that Muhammad fought. So I was a child at the time, only 7 years old, and I told my preacher that all these things, they just sound so backward. These things are not true. And he kind of looked at me and he was very mad. And he was like, how dare you say that? I mean, how can you not believe in it? And he complained to my mom. And my mom, she was really upset that you are too straightforward, you are too rude, you lack manners. Yeah, and my mom, she pulled my hair and she slapped me. And as a punishment for questioning, my imam, he forced me to write Kalima Shahadat 100 times. La ilaha, illallah, Muhammadun Rasulullah. There is no God but Allah, and Muhammad is his only messenger. That was very painful for me. So I started, like as a child, I just could not like going to Islamic classes because I was not allowed to question anything. And if you go for Islamic classes, then at that time you cannot wear jeans, you cannot wear frock, you cannot wear nail polish, or you cannot do anything at all. So I could not do anything. A simple jeans, a frock. Yeah, so and I had to attend that class every day. Every day I had to attend Islamic class twice at school and after coming from school. Yeah.
And this was along with your regular sort of general education. So you would get your general education alongside all of this.
Yeah.
One other quick, just as a side, I was thinking about this earlier when you were mentioning about your dad. Do you think that what happened with the situation regarding your education and your father's reluctance to it? You said obviously it wasn't a part of him being explicitly sort of a Muslim, but do you think a portion of that was just cultural in the sense that sort of it's a society in which that tends to be repressive against women, and so it's sort of intrinsic, or is it something else?
It's cultural, like in a way, because Bangladesh has the fourth highest child marriage rate in the world. My mom, she was married when she was only 16 years old. So, and it's very, easy to get away by beating your wife, daughter. And my father, in general, he is, short-tempered and he's rude with everyone, not just with me or my mom. His nature is like that. He's kind and straightforward in some ways, but he was also very short-tempered. So he used to raise hand on people in general.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was just his nature.
Okay.
Yeah, but he was also, but the fact that shames me the most that he was educated. He is educated and he's scientifically literate. But here's the thing. Education means nothing if you don't know how to behave with people. If you can't control your, temper, you need to learn how to control yourself. And hitting someone is not, okay.
No,
Yeah.
I totally agree.
It's not okay. Yeah. So yes, in a way it's cultural because, abuse is very common in my home country. Beating people, it's very common in my home country. Yeah, but here you can get in trouble if you hit someone, but not in my country. It's very, common. And you can get away, easily by treating your wife, daughter as crap. You
Wow.
get away. There is no justice. My mom, she tried to leave my father so many times, but she could not. Nobody came to help me or my mom. And my mom, she was, I don't even want to say that it's a very sad story. I have a very sad story to share because it's so common in my country. It's just the way of life is like that. So I got used to it, abuse, seeing abuse. Yeah, so in a way it's cultural, but if you speak with my dad, he knows science, he understands science, he would speak in English with you, he understands English, but education means nothing if you don't know how to behave.
Oh, you're absolutely right. It reminds me of just my own background. My mom and dad are both college educated. My father just has a general sort of liberal arts degree. My mother has a degree in education. But when I was growing up, my mom and dad didn't get along very well, and my parents are now divorced. They've been divorced about over 10 years now. And, um, you know, my dad never hit me. He never hit my mom or anything like that. But my dad could get very verbally abusive and get very loud and very uncouth. And
Uh-huh.
so I totally understand that in the sense that some of it's culture, but the other part of it is just, my dad had a long undiagnosed history of depression,
Mhm.
and that was left untreated for years, and that compounded with the fact that my dad has alcoholism.
Uh-huh.
So it's a mixture of all of that, and um, my dad's a much better person now, that he's gotten the help that he needs. But
Uh-huh.
I totally understand that, like, my dad's college educated. He had a small business. He's very smart. He's well read. But my dad also had those same problems. So in some respects, some of that's kind of universal.
Yeah, that's universal. And my dad, he had to go through a lot because my grandparents, they were dead in the war,
Mm-hmm.
in 1971 war, the Civil War. Yeah, so my dad had to struggle a lot alone. So he
Sure.
became kind of heartless in some ways. Yeah, but I still don't. Yeah, but he was also good in other ways. I used to get toys,
Mm-hmm.
Barbie doll, dollhouse.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, in a way, I was my dad's princess. I mean, daughters are daddy's princess.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but the only thing that's wrong with my dad is that he's short tempered. He cannot control his temper, and he is abusive
Mm-hmm.
physically, verbally,
Mm-hmm.
when he loses his temper.
Yep.
And he shouts like that with everyone, with the maids, with the driver, with the office staff. I mean, he's like that with, everyone. So, yes, I mean, like, education is important, but you also need to learn how to behave with people.
Mm-hmm.
You need to control your temper. You cannot be so impulsive
True.
and lash out on others.
True. Now, you mentioned a little bit, just a brief moment before, you were talking about the war that was going on in Bangladesh. Now, for most of us here in America, I mean, at least for me, my frame of reference for Bangladesh, I feel really bad about this, but my frame of reference is the concert for Bangladesh, which was this big thing in the 70s with George Harrison of the Beatles, like where they did the benefit concert or whatever. That's like the only thing I sadly that I know. Um,
Mhm.
so if you don't mind, hopefully you can enlighten me about a little bit of the history of Bangladesh. Like, so was it a part of the Indian Empire? Was it a part of the British Empire, or what was it?
Uh, it was at first the part of India, and then it was the part of Pakistan, East Pakistan. Yeah, and Bangladesh is still a very young country. It's a new country. It just became free in 1971, just 1971. So it's not that far away. Yeah, so it's still a young country and it's supposed to be a secular country. It started as a secular country. And then, I mean, Islam is also the state religion of my home country, Bangladesh. So it doesn't make any sense, I mean, to have Islam as the state religion. And then you are also saying that that is a secular country.
Mm-hmm.
The constitution is secular, but it's not. It's anything but secular. And yeah, and I can go on like on and on about the history, but we have to make a separate
Sure.
podcast of that.
No worries. That gave us more than enough. I just needed a little background for some of our listeners, who most of my listeners are here in the States. And sadly, us Americans, we can sometimes be a little ethnocentric. We don't always see things about other parts of the world. But no, that was certainly more than enough. Thank you. So
Uh,
let's move back just a little bit about your process of sort of leaving the culture and the religion of Islam behind. So you had trouble in Sunday school, and you were asking too many questions. which is terrible. People, adults should never punish children for asking too many questions. So where did that go from there?
Okay, so it started when I was 7 year old. I have asked my preacher, my hujur, imam, you can say both. I asked him that everything in the scripture is just so backward. Battle of Badr, I was studying that at that time, and everything in the scripture was so backward. And he complained to my mom, and my mom, she pulled my hair and she slapped me across the face, and she told me not to question anything. And my God, and I had to finishing the whole Quran and Hadith was a nightmare for me. And I have done that when I was in grade 7. Yeah, and then I was like, Mom, I have done my part. Now you can brag to your friends that my daughter is moral, pure. She has done her duty. She has completed the holy Quran and Hadith. Yeah, so I was like done. And I pretty much stayed away from Islam and faith in general until 2013. Something special happened in 2013 that completely changed my life. And people, they always ask me that how did you become an atheist? You come from a third world country where everything is censored, but your English is so good, you understand science, you are liberal. How do you know all these things? And you are new in the US. How do you know all these things? So here is the thing. I cannot pinpoint to a specific part that made me an atheist in one day, because it's not. It took me a long time to understand and to change myself. So there are several special, events in my life that has forced me to question my culture and Islam. Firstly, it's my head injury.
Mm-hmm.
I got a very bad head injury in 2010. Yeah, because my dad, he threw me across the room and my head, it has stuck a chair, and I started bleeding profusely, and I became, unconscious, and my mom and dad, they had to rush me in the hospital. And that head injury, it was so silly. It was only because I wanted money to go to my classes, to my coaching classes. Yeah, so at that time, I was struggling a lot. It was always a struggle for me to continue my education. It was a nightmare for me just to complete my high school, because my dad, he tried to stop my high school education several times. Like in 2010, I was struggling a lot to complete my high school education, to give my O-level and A-level board exam. And the schools in my home country is just horrible. They don't take in classes. Yeah, and you have to go to coaching classes just to give the high school board exam, the British board exam, O-level and A-level board exam. You have to give that exam to pass high school,
Mm-hmm.
English high school. So the education system of my home country, it's corrupt. Children are not taught science or math.
Mm-hmm.
Really, they are just asked to learn and memorize everything. So yeah, so I was struggling a lot to complete my high school, and I was forced to drop out of school after grade 8. Imagine dropping out of school in class 8. As a teenager, and I was just stuck at home. I used to go for my coaching classes in the afternoon, and those classes were really expensive because they don't teach anything at school. It's so corrupt. And you are forced to attend expensive coaching classes for each and every subject. That's just so stupid. Yeah, because for each and every subject, you have to pay 4,000 takas.
Wow.
4,000, 3,000 takas. So that's a lot of money. And my dad, he was extremely reluctant to pay for my school. And he was like, you don't have to study anymore. I mean, you already studied a lot and pay for your own education. So how can I pay for my own education as a teenager in 2010? It doesn't make any sense at all. And in 2013, something special happened. YouTube was banned in my home country and in several other Muslim countries. Can you say why? Can you guess, Justin?
I can take a random guess, which is that there was material that was critical of either the government of Bangladesh or of the religion of Islam. Am I correct?
That's just so obvious and common. It was banned. The whole YouTube was banned because of one anti-Islam clip called Innocence of Muslims. It's just because of one silly video. The whole YouTube was banned in my country. And that kind of, affected me a lot. Why? Because at that time in 2013, I was studying alone. I was trying to pass high school alone just by watching science tutorials, math tutorials on YouTube. I was trying to study alone, so I could not study. I was like, I cannot do my calculus homework because my teachers won't teach me, like anything at all. And I was trying to study alone, and at that point, it was in 2013 September, and my high school board exam was in October. So I was just a month away, and the whole YouTube was banned, and I could not study. I had an exam, and I could not study.
That's terrible. That's horrible. So, is it still banned today? Is it still banned now?
No, it was lifted. Yeah.
Okay.
YouTube was banned in my home country, so I was very upset at that time. I logged into Facebook and I saw all my Muslim friends, cousins, siblings. They all started complaining a lot that how dare you, how can you insult Islam? Yeah, and then they all told me, my Muslim friends, they showed me an anti-Islam page, the Innocence of Muslims, and they asked me to report that page. That was the first time I came across an anti-Islam page. Deep down inside, I always knew that all these things are not true. The scriptures, they all sound backward and crazy. But that was the first time in 2013 I came across an anti-Islam page. That kind of clicked me, and I told them that you're not supposed to insult anybody's faith. I told the admin of that page that why are you insulting Islam? Now YouTube is banned in my country. I cannot study for my exam. You're not supposed to insult anybody's faith. Yeah, because my mom and dad, my teachers, that's what they taught me, that you are not supposed to question faith. You are not supposed to insult or offend or hurt anybody's feeling. Yeah, so at the time, I did not understand free speech. And I was thoroughly bashed by atheists online. They came after me. They just showed me that, hey, it's just not true. Yeah, so I was totally verbally bashed by atheists online, and I started scratching my head. Okay, something is wrong over here. These atheists, they do have a point. All these things are actually not true. Yeah, so I went back to read the Quran again using an adult mind. And I was shocked to find all these sexism, misogyny, slavery, all the bad verses. And I was like, oh my gosh, these things are not true.
Mm-hmm.
And I have always loved science. So I did understand how life has evolved on Earth, and creationism is not true. Muslims and Christians, they believe in the same creation story because Quran is copied from the Old Testament, and Muslims, they believe in the same Adam and Eve story with some changes in it. Yeah, but it's still stupid. It still does not make any sense. So I cringed at that time, and I was like, no, these things are not true, and secularism is the way to go, and life has evolved on Earth. even though I was back in my home country, I knew that these things are not true. And in 2013, atheists were being killed, were being hacked to death in my country. And it was a huge international story and a big news in my home country. And at the time, I was stuck in my country. And in 2014, I came out as an atheist. And people, they always tell me that you are very brave because I have used my real name. I don't have a fake account or a pseudonym. I just have one Facebook account, Zerin Firoze. That's it. Yeah, and I have used my real name and pictures on my Facebook, Instagram, and I spoke, against Islam for the last 4+ years while being stuck in Bangladesh. The reason I got courage to speak against Islam because my education was being denied. I don't want to leave if I cannot study, if I cannot go to school. So I was determined to get my education. And I was like, let me die, I don't care. But I wanted to go to school. I really wanted to complete my high school and go to college. And at the time, atheists were being killed in my country. Then Islami party, they are one of the largest party in Bangladesh. Yeah, and they are from my hometown.
And they were the ones that were carrying out the killing, because that was going to be my question for you was this a government action on behalf of the Bangladesh government to kill people or to imprison people, or was this done by sort of a radical political sect that then used violence against its opponents?
All of them are against atheists.
Okay.
Bangladesh government, now the Army party is in charge, and it's supposed to be a secular party, but it's anything but secular. Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, she told that, atheists are too much. And if you get killed for saying something on your Facebook page, then it's your fault. You're not supposed to offend or hurt anybody's feeling. And the Army party is against free speech. They don't even understand secularism or free speech at all. And the secular party of my home country, they have jailed bloggers. They have jailed Muslims. They have jailed Muslims for a Facebook status that made fun of the government. If you say something against the government, then you are going to jail the very next day. Yeah, you're finished. In fact, you are fortunate if you go in jail because you are not being killed by crowds of mobs who just break into your house and kill you. Yeah.
Wow.
So, yeah, you are actually fortunate if you land up in jail.
That's like a nightmare scenario. So now that I'm thinking about that, one of the big things that's been going around lately is some of your great quotes about your background and your story, and how you're very critical of the public intellectual Reza Aslan, who I have been very critical of in the past as well. The man is a professional obscurantist. He makes his living being, in my opinion, a bullshit artist, where he basically goes around and tries to square a circle. And so what, if you kind of echo kind of what you've said before about how sort of some of these, quote unquote, progressive intellectuals here in the United States get the issue of Islamism or Muslim extremism wrong in countries like Bangladesh.
I was stuck in my home country and I kept seeing Reza Aslan on TV, saying that on TV that Bangladesh, Malaysia, and like other South Asian or Southeast Asian Muslim countries are liberal countries. That's just not true. And men and women are not even 100% equal in the West. How can you say that it's equal in third world countries like Bangladesh? It's just ridiculous. And yes, we do have a female prime minister. Yeah, but it's only because of the fact that her father, Sheikh Mujibur, he was in power. So in my country, I mean, if your parents are in power, you just get in power. Yeah, there is no, I mean, voting. I mean, people don't actually get to vote. There is
Wow.
no secularism, free speech, democracy. Yeah, you cannot find all these things in my country. Yeah, so by default she is just in power. Yeah, but nobody takes her seriously. Nobody listens to her, and the Islamists. I mean, they are trying to overthrow her. She won't last long. Yeah,
Wow.
and she panders to Islamists, and she's a hardcore Islamist all by herself. Yeah, and the reason she came in power and the reason my country was fairly good back in the late 90s and early 2000 is because it started as a secular country. It's not because of Islam. It's not because of Islam. Because, yeah, the few good things in my country is because of the fact that it started as a secular country. But people like Reza Aslan, they say that no, it's because of Islam, it's just so progressive. Yeah, but you cannot give credit to Islam.
Th-
Yeah, now it's even more Islamic. Bangladesh has turned way more Islamic, and I have seen my country changing from bad to worse. I left my country last year
mhm.
in August. Last year, August. That was I mean, in 2016, August. 10th August 2016 was the day I left my home country, Bangladesh. And I have seen my country changing from bad to worse. When I was a child in my home country, I did not wear hijab. My grandmother, my mom, they don't wear hijab, burqa. Why should I be more backward than my grandparents? Why should I be more backward than my grandparents? But yes, in 2013, in 2014, several things made me question Islam. I mean, atheists were being killed in my home country. Facebook, YouTube, even WhatsApp, Viber app. It's just the app on phone, WhatsApp, Viber. It was banned in my country. So that caught my, I mean, attention. That affected my life. The YouTube ban, it affected my life because I could not study at that time. And my high school friends were forced into arranged marriage. My best friend, I mean, she was forced to drop out of school in grade 8, just like me. I was also forced to drop out of school. I'm also a high school dropout. My friends were forced into arranged marriage, and nobody came to help us. My teachers, who are educated, they are English speaking, moderate Muslims, they did not come to help us. Daily Star is the leading liberal English newspaper in my home country. They have also said that it's okay to ban YouTube because you're hurting the feelings of Muslims. Yeah, if you don't like something, then don't watch that, but you don't have to ban the thing. So all these things really forced me to question Islam. And two people got, arrested for a Facebook status that has criticized the Saudi government for Hajj because people were dying in the Hajj in 2015. So these people are Muslims. They are not even atheists. Okay, they are not even, atheists. They are just responsible Muslims who has said that Saudi government should, organize the Hajj properly so that people don't die.
And that's the thing that I try to express to people too when I talk about these issues, and I know that other sort of public intellectuals have done this too, is that one of the side effects of this authoritarianism and the rise of Islamism is the harming of other Muslims. Because I just finished reading a little while back. I just finished reading Ali Rizvi's book, the Muslim Atheist, And he makes this point that in some sectors of either Southeast Asia or the Middle East, if you're a particular sect of Muslims, Shia, Sunni, or whatever, that you're not even to the other sects, you may not even be considered Muslim, that you would be considered the quote unquote infidel, if you will. So much of what we're seeing that's harming the Muslim world is harming other Muslims. And that's something that people like Reza Aslan, people like Glenn Greenwald and others, the professional obscurantists, this is something they don't seem to understand, or they do understand it and they're intentionally misleading people to serve an agenda, which is kind of what I think they're doing.
I want to ask Reza Aslan that how can you call Bangladesh a moderate Muslim country when people are being jailed? I mean, when Muslims are being jailed for saying something about the Saudi government, not about Islam, not about secularism, and Muslims are being, arrested. And Moja lost, it's a page, it's a famous Facebook page for the youngsters of my home country. The admin of Moja Laws, he got, arrested just for a Facebook post. And Sharia law is still used, the Islamic law is still used in property dispute, in like inheritance, how much wealth can you inherit from your father, husband. Yeah, so it's just, it doesn't make any sense. And people are being arrested just for a Facebook post. It's just like Saudi Arabia. The only thing that's slightly good about my country is the fact that, there is no law that says that you cannot wear jeans. But it's a huge deal, but it's still socially unacceptable for girls to drive, to rent a place, to stay. I tried so hard to leave my father's house. My mom, she tried to leave my father's house, but it's impossible to rent a place to stay without a male guardian because landlord, they won't allow a single female to rent a place without a male guardian. Because if something happens to that female, their house or their neighborhood would be defamed or shamed. Yeah, so, girls cannot go to school. Girls don't even earn much. A single woman, it's rare to find a single woman living alone or earning as much as a male person. Yeah, so all these things really forced me to question Islam. My friends were being forced into child marriage. And all my friends, they started practicing hijab, burqa, long salwar, kameez. And I was also asked to wear hijab, burqa to fit in the same circle, to be like them. So I attended my cousin's wedding. And all my friends, my cousins, they all wore hijab, long salwar, kameez, and with a red lipstick on their face. It just makes no sense. I'm like, aren't you supposed to be modest? Why are you stalking guys by wearing red lipstick?
I know.
Wearing, hijab on top of that.
One of my favorite images online is it's a Muslim woman trying to eat spaghetti, and she's like wearing the burqa, so she's like trying to like finagle the noodle into like the whole, like the mouth slit. It's horrible.
That's how my aunt, my friend, that's how they eat. That's how they eat.
It's crazy.
They have the face veil. They have to lift the face veil and put and they have to put the food under the face veil. That's how I have seen my aunt eat it. So common. For me, that's a very common sight because I grew up in a majority country, so that's not funny for me. It's very new. It's very obvious for me. It's new for you. Yeah, but it's just so obvious for me, and I don't know if I should cry or laugh. Yeah, but I was being asked to wear hijab, and in 2013, 14, my aunt, my teachers, my friends, they started gossiping about me, taunting me that I should be a proper girl. I should be modest. Yeah, but I could be the most proper child parents could possibly have. I mean, I used to do my homework on time. I used to do everything on time. I never took drug. I never took alcohol. I don't, yeah, I mean, I was the most proper, good child anyone can possibly have. But at the same time, I was also the black sheep of my family and classroom. As I grew up, my mom, she started noticing that I'm just not like others.
Well, I think that's great. I mean, for me, I've always felt like it's the iconoclasts, it's the rebels. They're the ones that make the world better, and so that's kind of how I always felt. I never felt really like I was in tune with everything. I mean, I certainly didn't endure the hardships you did, but I was teased. I was a fat kid in school, and I didn't wear jeans a lot. I liked to wear sweatpants when I was a kid because I thought they were comfy, and I didn't care, and I was into my own thing or whatever, and I used to get made fun of a lot, and the world sometimes will punish you for going to the beat of your own drum, but at some point you will be rewarded. And eventually I was, and I hope the same for you. So I guess my next question for you is, you mentioned that you came to the United States last fall. What brought you here?
I was saying that, so all the things, I mean, the killing of atheists, my friends were forced into child marriage. My mom and dad, they have denied my education despite being so secular and educated. My mom is not all that, educated, but she is still fairly liberal. She doesn't wear hijab or burqa, so in some ways she is liberal. Yeah, but but as she's growing older, she's becoming more. I mean, she started praying now because she saw that my daughter is an atheist. I need to save her. So I was being told that I cannot dress the way I want. I cannot go to school. I cannot complete my high school. So I met with atheists online, and I saw that the atheists were actually right. They pointed out all the flaws in the scriptures, and there are several. And I also, and I always understood science. I used to follow NASA. I still follow NASA and Science Channel. So I know that life has evolved on Earth. So I started adding atheists on my friend list. In 2014, I started atheist. I started having atheist friends on Instagram, on Facebook. And at that time, I was struggling to continue my education and to complete my high school. So internet made me an atheist. People, they ask me that everything is so censored in my home country. Yeah, so internet played a huge role for making me an atheist. Thank you, internet. and I had to use proxy server to bypass the YouTube ban, the Facebook ban. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so internet made me an atheist. So I started telling my secular friends, my American atheist friends, that hey, that I cannot go to school. I want to go to school, but it's not, possible. Liberals and atheists like me are being killed. I came out as an atheist in 2014. So I told my American atheist friends, my British atheist friends, my Western atheist friends that, hey, please try to help me. I cannot continue my, education. So Facebook, it became my only platform, my only voice to speak out against all the persecution, oppression in Bangladesh, to update my, American atheist friends that, hey, I am being persecuted and oppressed in my home country, and I'm stuck in my room. I cannot go out, and I cannot study. Yeah, so, and I started receiving death threats online. The Hefajat-e Islam, Jamaat-e-Islami Party of Bangladesh. Yeah, I got threats from them. And these Islamic groups like Ansar al-Islam. They are the Al-Qaeda branch of South Asia, Ansar al-Islam, and they are very techy. Don't worry, I mean, they would do the most barbaric thing in the world. They would hack atheists, and then they would go online and post on social media that, hey, that if you insult Islam, we would all kill you.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen that with ISIS as well. I mean, ISIS, one of its ways of recruitment was Twitter.
Yeah,
So.
and do you know Taslima Nasrin?
Yes.
She got threat on Twitter that she would be the next, atheist to be hacked to death. And I am not a blogger. Most people in Bangladesh, they live on the street. They are uneducated. They don't even have access to food or housing. They don't even read blog. But the middle class Bengali people, they do have cheap access to Android phone, and it's very easy to make a Facebook account. You don't really need to know much to make a Facebook account. So they do have cheap access to Facebook. So most, atheist, secular activists, they can reach more people through Facebook than through a blog. So I don't have a blog, but I was an outspoken atheist from 2014 to 2016.
Okay, and so that
My real name and pictures.
Yep.
Yeah, I started getting death threats.
That's terrible.
And my dad, he could not care less about the fact that I don't pray or I don't fast. My mom, my aunt, they used to shame me a lot for not fasting, for wearing jeans, for walking all the way for my coaching classes, because I used to wear jeans and I used to walk for my coaching classes because my dad, he won't provide car because he just wanted me to stop my education. Yeah, so he tried to make it as hard as possible. And so I used to be a rebel. I am still a rebel. Yeah, so I used to walk. So even walking in the street of Dhaka, Chittagong in a simple pair of jeans is a huge deal. You can get raped or you can get harassed. So I used to be catcalled every single day. It was a nightmare for me to step foot outside my house alone. Yeah, but I still used to risk my safety, and I used to step outside the house alone for my classes, for my evening classes, because my dad, he simply won't provide car. Yeah. And so I started getting rape threats, death threats online, and overnight I lost all my childhood friends, my cousins, people whom I have known since my childhood. My classmates, they started harassing me. My ex-classmates, my high school friends, they started harassing me online instead of supporting the fact that I was helping my classmates who were forced into child marriage. So I got, and I do have screenshots I could just show you. All the threats I got from Chatro Shibir, from my classmates, and they are educated classmates. They know English. They are supposed to be the moderate, liberal, young Muslims. Yeah, so I got death threats from them, and my dad eventually, and my mom and dad, they even got complaints about me. So my dad, he could not care less that I don't pray or I don't fast. Yeah, but he was like, keep that to yourself. Don't talk about it.
Yeah.
But I'm like, Papa, you are not allowing me to go to school. I have to speak against that. If I don't say it, Justin, the fact that I can go to college now is only because of my outspoken atheism. My dad, my parents, they were forced to let go of me because of my outspoken atheism. Otherwise, I could have never gained the freedom that I have now. I still pinch myself and I say that, okay, hey, like I'm in the US, I can go to school. I never thought I could go to school. Just a year ago, if you would have asked me that you you can actually attend school, I would have never believed it. I still find it hard to believe the fact that I am allowed to go to school. I can continue my education. So my mom and dad, they got complaints from everyone that look how your daughter is so rude and outspoken. Yeah, and my dad, he Google searched my name, and the first result was obviously the American atheist page. It comes first. If you type like atheist, the American atheist, that page will come first. Yeah. So he saw my like. My father, he saw my like on the American Atheist page. And my dad, he called me and he said that, why did you like that page? And I'm like, because I like the content of that page. I told my dad very politely, because as a South Asian child, as a Bengali child, I was always taught to respect my parents, adults. And even today, I find it really hard to misbehave with anybody who is elder than me. I am very respectful. I have always been a very proper daughter, student. I have always respected my parents, my aunt, uncle. But sometimes the things that they say is just not right, especially denying education and forcing us that, hey, you should get married, you don't have to study anymore. That's just wrong.
I totally agree, and so I'm so glad that you're here in the U.S. and that you're going to school. So what are you going to school for? What are you interested in?
Nursing, but I want to be a doctor, but I have to be a U.S. citizen to get into a medical school here. And here I have to pay out-of-state tuition fees. Fortunately, I always had straight A's. I always did good. But at some point, my high school education was affected because my family life was really abusive. But after coming in the US, I got several scholarships. Now I can proudly say that, hey, I have several scholarships. And
Congratulations.
Thank you. And I have all A's on my transcript and few B's, yeah, but never less than B, yeah. So I did fairly good. So my grades shows my parents that I am a good student, because my dad, he always told me that you are not smart, you are not all that good in math, you should not study anymore. So my good grades, it shows that I am smart, I do deserve an education. It's very hard to keep something that you don't deserve. Yeah, the fact that I'm continuing my education and I have all these A's and good grades, my grades shows my parents and my critics that yes, I am good enough to deserve an education. I do deserve to study. So yes, I got death threats. My classmates, co-workers, they even started saying that beat her with a shoe. She deserves a shoe beating.
Oh.
Shoe beating, crowds of mobs, attacking you or lynching you or stoning you in public for a Facebook post or for blasphemy. It's very common in Bangladesh, Pakistan. It's a very common thing in Bangladesh, Pakistan. So it became very difficult for me to stay in my country. My dad, he has thrown me out of the house. And I sat in the staircase of my apartment and I kept crying. My neighbors, they saw me crying. My guard, the security guard of my apartment, they saw me crying, but nobody came to help me. And my neighbors, they used to see us screaming, shouting. My dad used to scream and shout every other day. And he has thrown me out of the house several times just for wanting an education, just because I wanted to study. Yeah, so I had to fight a lot with my parents for my share of property, and my family is not all that rich. We are upper middle class. I had to, so I came here with limited funding from my home country. And my UK friend, Sarah, she's an agnostic. She has set up a GoFundMe account a year ago. I did not know how to apply to US colleges or how to set up a GoFundMe account, because you cannot set up a GoFundMe account from a third world country. You have to know someone in the West who can set up a GoFundMe account for you. And so my UK friend, Sarah, she has set up a GoFundMe account. And I was fearing for my life and education last year.
Hmm.
And the US, I mean, I have always loved the US, but UK was my first choice. I mean, I always wanted to study in the West. UK was my first choice. I have applied for a UK visa, and guess what? It was denied. My tourist visa was denied by the UK, I mean, like embassy and the Swedish embassy. They have, I mean, said no to my tourist visa application for the dumbest reason ever. Because I was single, I'm not married, so I lack ties to my home country. So single people, they cannot travel, they
Oh,
cannot be a tourist. Yeah, and you have to show your own bank statement. So I was like, I just completed high school. How can I show my bank statement? But I used to work in my home country. I used to tutor primary school kids, A, B, C, D, 1, 2, 3, 4, times table, and all that. And I also used to teach high school students in my home country, 7th grade students. So I did earn money, but I had to leave my job because I was being harassed by my coworker, by my Muslim friends, family, cousins for being an atheist, for demanding an education. The only reason I got the courage to speak out against Islam and to update my American atheist friends is because my own education was at stake.
sure.
Yeah, because otherwise I could not have been so brave. And in a way, I was kind of foolish or naive because back then I did not know that there is a thing called blasphemy. Because I never thought that my Muslim friends, cousins, I grew up with them would try to harm me or kill me because I disagreed with them. I never thought that they would try to harm me or kill me. So I thought that I have discovered that there is no God and the creationism story is not true. So I was excited. I was excited to share that with my cousins, friends who are Muslims. And I never thought that they would try to kill me or hurt me or they would send me rape threats, death threats. Yeah, so I was a high school student and I'm young and I did not know that this would happen. In a way, so I'm not brave. So in a way, I was naive to have faith because I always see the good in people. So the UK embassy and the Swedish embassy, they have told me no. And at that time, Brexit happened.
Oh,
So
okay.
I was fearing for my life, and there was a lot of hate that we don't want immigrants. Many people from Bangladesh, they have been in the UK and they have overstayed and they have carried out terror attack. They have been to Syria as well. So people, I mean, the embassy is still reluctant to take in people from Bangladesh. Finally, the US embassy accepted my student visa application. I have applied to 8 US colleges in January with the help of my atheist friends and one friend in Canada. I mean, they have helped me to apply to US colleges. And even when I was applying to US colleges, I took my, ACT exam. I had to struggle a lot to gather fund for my admission application fee, my SAT exam to apply to US colleges. Yeah, so it was a struggle. And I did few small things each and every day. And I never knew that all these things would come together and help me and this thing would actually be possible. And last year I was fearing for my life in my home country. And Trump, he kept on hammering in his campaign that ban all Muslims. And I'm like, hello, liberal people like me, atheist people like me, they do exist. And I'm way more liberal than the pro-life, Bible-thumping, creationist classmates that I have. Most of my classmates are nursing students who are creationist.
Yeah, I can empathize with that. Where I did my undergrad was an offshoot of Indiana University in my hometown, and the IU is very known for its med school and for its nursing school, and so the most amount of graduates from my branch of IU Kokomo was nursing students. In fact, when they would have graduation ceremonies, they would have one day that was like business, the business school and the nursing school, and they'd have another part of the graduation day for everybody else because that was how many business and nursing students there were. And many of them that I met, because some of them had to take liberal arts classes and I was in mostly liberal arts stuff, some of them are creationists. Some of them are fairly, I don't know how to say it, backward, you know. Some of them aren't, but some of them are, and that's just kind of the nature of the beast, I think. In medical sciences, it's weird like that, where, like, I think the most obvious example in my head is somebody like Ben Carson, who is like a world-renowned like brain surgeon and can do all these amazing things with being a brain surgeon, but is a fucking idiot. So it's like how? I mean, it's crazy. It's that weird like cognitive dissonance that I don't understand.
Yeah, Ben Carson, he's a joke.
The pyramids are there to store grain, right?
Evolution. Yeah, Ben Carson is just a joke. So yeah, Trump kept hammering the fact that ban all Muslims. So I could have been banned.
Mm-hmm.
Today I am alive in front of you. I'm speaking in front of you, and I had to change my place several times. I was traveling to and from Dhaka to Chittagong to process my visa application. So I could have been dead because I was foolish enough to speak out against child marriage and misogyny and like extremism online with my real name and picture. I was really foolish to do that, and I have realized from day one that if I do this, I will die. But I still kept doing that for the last 3+ years because my education was at stake.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if my way is the right way or the wrong way, if I should have done that. I have never felt the need to use a fake account or a pseudonym. And guess what? People, they did use pseudonym and fake account and they were killed. And in a way, it's an irony that I wasn't killed.
Yeah. Well, I think there's this, I mean, you were certainly brave for doing that. And the other thing I wanted to touch on too was your story is so inspiring to me because, you know, as I was mentioning to you before we started, you know, I'm from the Midwest. Like I'm about as American as it gets, right? And so I was born into a system of so much privilege and wealth, and I took so much of it for granted. I mean, I remember the day I took my SATs. I went to a high school that was like a county over, and the guy who was the proctor of the SAT exam, he wore like a sweater and he was a fucking dick. And like, and like, I just remember how easy it was. And like the big complaint that my girlfriend at the time, who's now my wife, her big complaint about us taking the SATs was, why did you schedule the SATs in Logansport? Why didn't you do them in Kokomo or Peru where we lived? Which is about 30 minutes away or whatever. She's like, why'd you do that? And that was our big complaint. And I'm hearing your story and I'm thinking to myself, you know, you endured so much merely because what you wanted to do was live your life as you wanted to. And you wanted to have your education and you wanted to be yourself. And, you know, I'm just beyond words in terms of thinking of just how incredibly inspiring you are to me. And so the last question I have for you before we finish up is, tell me a little bit about your experience at, was it Dragon Con where you spoke recently, or where did you speak?
Like at the American Atheist.
Yes, yeah. Would you mind speaking a little bit about that? And were you given like an award or something? Because if you didn't, you should have been.
I got scholarship for the American Atheist Scholarship. 2017 scholarship. I got that, and I had my speaking slot, 30-minute speaking slot. Yeah, so it was so exciting. It was an honor, privilege to meet with David Silverman because I was thrown out of the house. My dad, he pulled my hair and he has threatened to cut off the internet connection, Wi-Fi, because I have liked the American Atheist page. I was thrown out of my house for liking the American Atheist page. So now in August, in 2017 August, I spoke for the American Atheist Convention.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, and I was the youngest speaker there.
That's cool.
And everyone was, I mean, they were far older than me. They know a lot more than me. So it was an honor, privilege. I had to pinch myself. Oh my goodness, this is true. And I met with the American atheists who were my Facebook friends.
That's wonderful. I saw that you met, I saw that you met James Randi, which is pretty amazing.
Yeah, James Randi, yeah. And Mark Gura,
Uh-huh.
I knew him while I was, stuck in my home country. And I used to email him every day that, hey, that I'm having problems. I cannot continue my education. Yeah, so Mark, I mean, and so many other people like Edward, Rosa, yeah, they all saw me moving from Bangladesh to the US. And Carrie Roger, he has helped me to apply to US colleges in one of the US colleges.
Uh-huh.
And my friend from Canada, he has also helped me. So they all, these people are my witness. They saw me, how I have struggled so much. And back in my home country, you cannot use, there is no online banking. You cannot find ATM. And to pay for SAT, you have to have a card. You need to pay through a card for the SAT exam. So it was, each and every step. And just to find a center to give the ACT exam and to apply to US colleges by using a card. My friends, they have helped me a lot. And later, and I have paid my friends back. And my friend in UK, she has set up a GoFundMe account for me, but she could not raise any fund. And it's very hard to help ex-Muslims who are stuck in a Muslim country. Why? Because you cannot set up a GoFundMe account there. And you cannot set up a GoFundMe account from a third world country. And you cannot publicize your story because people who stamp the visa on your passport, they do a background check. If the embassy finds out that you are an atheist or you are trying to leave the country and you would never come back once you get your US visa, then they will not grant you the visa. So, Trump kept on hammering ban all Muslims. So I did come here in 2016 when Trump got elected.
Mm-hmm.
Back to your question. So I shared my story at the American Atheist, and it was an honor, privilege. And I have filed for, asylum.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, an international student, the study, the study abroad experience, the student exchange, all these things, because you need to have a visa to travel. But my intention was to flee my country, to flee persecution in my country because I got threats from Ansar al-Islam, Jamaat Shibir, Hafazat Islam, and from my classmates, even from the normal, ordinary Muslims. They won't tolerate any criticism of Islam. And my friends, classmates, my cousins, my high school seniors, they study at North-South BRAC, and they are the expensive, English schools, colleges in my country. So it was really hard, for me to stay in my country. I just could not stay in my country because everyone was against me. And my mom and dad, they got scared because I was so outspoken.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so they could no longer hold me back. I fought for my share of my properties, and I had my own savings as well.
Mm-hmm.
Because I started working from a very young age. So I'm proud of the fact that I came here with my own funding, and I got several speaking platforms after coming in this country. Yeah, and I have never begged for a penny. The only request I have from all the atheists and from all my secular friends that, please do help. I want all atheist groups and the human rights groups to speed up to tell the US government to speed up my asylum case because I have to wait for 3+ years to hear back from USCIS. That's just crazy. So I need to stay in the US for the next 3+ years without any citizenship. And I do pay my taxes. But I cannot get any help.
And see, that's a common misnomer that a lot of people have, particularly on the right, is, oh, all these immigrants, these people coming here, they're taking our money, this, that, and the other. That's not really the case. The majority of them, either they're like you, where they're in asylum and they're seeking citizenship, or they come here as undocumented workers, or they're like what we've heard recently with the Dreamers, where they came here as kids. And these kids, these people, they do pay state and local taxes. They pay federal taxes if they have a job. Like this idea, and they don't get anything in return because they technically, to the United States' eye, they don't exist. So it's this weird thing where the right particularly keeps selling this lie, and it's such a misnomer. So I'm glad that you cleared that up. That frustrates me. I'm a very outspoken critic of Trump, and I've been a very open supporter of immigration, and especially for those seeking asylum and for those seeking freedom, because I love this country so much, and I love what it has given to me as a citizen who was born here, and I want to be able to extend, what the founders called the blessings of liberty to people from all around the world, and I'm so glad that you can be someone who can take a part of that. So you've got a little bit of a time period between figuring out hopefully what will happen with your citizenship. I really wish you the best of luck with that. This has been an amazing conversation. It has been an absolute pleasure talking with you. Was there anything else you wanted to hit on before we finished up?
I'm all done. I said everything.
Perfect.
And I just have to tell my liberals that please, don't liberals, they called me racist, Islamophobic, and I have white liberal friends who don't understand that you are not racist if you criticize Islam. Liberals, they need to understand the fact that you are not sellout or racist, because I remember while I was stuck in my home country in Bangladesh, I had white liberal atheist friends who told me that I should not criticize Islam. My education was being denied. Yeah, I knew one guy, he was a professor in New York City. Yeah, he keeps on saying that, the atheists are too radical. The new atheists are being too radical. And you're wrong to criticize Islam. And I'm like, and it's not all Muslims. Of course, I have never said it's all Muslims. And I have always stood up for Muslims. People and ideas are two different things. Just because I criticize Islam or Christianity, it does not mean that I hate all Christians or Muslims or Hindus or as an atheist, I don't like any organized faith or belief system. Yeah, and I don't hate Muslims, and I want to help Muslims. And as a refugee, and I cringe to say that because you don't expect to be a refugee. And I think the U.S. government should help the Syrian refugees. And Muslims should not be banned, because you cannot ban bad ideas. Bad ideas don't have borders.
I agree.
Yeah, so I do support Muslims, and I think that Muslims themselves, they are the biggest victim of Islam, because they are suffering the most and they don't even know that. And I have seen people becoming radical, my friends, cousins, North-South students becoming radical by following Islam or by going to mosque. So yes, Islam does play a role here. It's not just US foreign policy or something else. Yeah, so I just want to tell my fellow white American liberals that we need you. You have to help us. You have to support us instead of supporting people like Linda Sarsour. Oh my
I
God.
totally agree. I completely agree with you. I think
Yeah.
it's a bit rich that people were to call you a racist, a woman from Bangladesh, a woman who was raised as in the Muslim culture, someone who lived there. I mean, it's just it's so it's interesting. It's kind of like it's like I think it's what somebody called like the tyranny of low expectations. They
Yeah.
think that simply because it's like they know better. It's like this sort of patrician kind of, we will help you, this kind of thing. And it's so wrong. And the thing I because I've gotten, pretty criticized for my criticism of religion and nowhere near what you have. But, the thing I make a clear point of is that one of the beauties of our country, of the United States, and this goes back to Jefferson and Madison, the founding, is that we have a secular country, not an anti-religious country, not a religious country, a secular country that is based on the firm separation of church and state and the right of conscience, the right of people to live as they want, so long as they don't violate the rights of others. And the idea that we would ban a people simply by virtue of what they believe in is so antithetical to the American idea that it was absolutely disastrous. Having said all of that, I think it's equally important that people, when you see bad ideas and you see the consequences of those bad ideas, to criticize them. Because if we do, because criticism and discourse are the way that we make progress. Because I think Sam Harris made this point. It's like we either have discourse or we have violence. It's one or the other. So we have to have that discourse. And so I totally agree with you that wake up, white liberals, like figure this out, because it's something that they need to figure out, because, you're not racist, you're not an Islamophobe, you're not any of that for criticizing a religion or criticizing a government's theocratic policies. You're speaking out for individual rights, you're speaking out for liberty, you're speaking out for human rights. So I'm totally with you on that. Zerin, this has been seriously an absolute pleasure. You are an absolute hero of mine in my book. I mean, you are with Ayaan Hirsi Ali and Majid Nawaz and the rest of the reformers who are trying to change the world for the better. And we are damn glad. We are damn happy to have you here in the United States. And so thank you so much for speaking with me. Is there any way that people can maybe contact you if they want to learn more? If you want to do that, if you don't, that's fine. If you have a Twitter, what's your Twitter or whatever, something like that?
Bengali atheist, Zerin Firoze is my name. Yeah, I mean, just type my name, Zerin, Zerin, and then Firoze, Firoze, Firoze. I'm so fortunate to be in this country. I got to wear skirt for the first time and walk down the street.
That's awesome.
Short skirt for the first time.
That's awesome. There's certain things that people should do, like, do that, eat pizza.
Bacon. I ate bacon for the first time.
Bacon is great.
So
Bacon
yummy.
is great.
Yeah, it was so yummy. And yeah, I mean, I would love to have more atheist friends. Yeah, so please do follow me.
Great.
And add me on Facebook, Zerin Firoze. That's
Awesome.
the only account I have. That's the one Facebook account I have. That's it. And I'm thinking to start my own YouTube channel, Bengali Atheist. But I still have to brush up my speech, and I'm trying to be an excellent speaker, and I have no training whatsoever, and English is my second language. Yeah, but I have tried my best, and thank you so much.
You are so welcome, Zerin. You've done a wonderful job speaking with me today. No problem. It's been an absolute blast. Thank you so much for joining me. As always, you can always follow us at Twitter, Instagram, and Tumblr and YouTube at The Daily Clark. You can follow us on Facebook. We need to grow our Facebook page. It's small, but we need to grow it. It's facebook.com/reasonrevolution. Let's see what else. We're on SoundCloud, iTunes, YouTube. If there is a podcasting platform that I'm not on that you want me to be on, please let me know at reasonrevolutionpodcast@gmail.com. Until next week, this has been Justin Clark, and this has been Reason Revolution.